I love to share my testimony because if people know where I was and where I am now, you would know that anybody can do it. If Dustin Nichols can do it, if he can turn his life around, there's not one person out there that can't turn their life around. I promise you. If the Lord changed me, He can change you. Just look to the Lord, whatever you do, and come see me at North Mississippi Auto.
You're listening to the Good for Business podcast, where we feature interviews, tips, and tricks from owners, operators, and innovators throughout Mississippi and around the world. And now, your host, Colin Krieger. Thanks, and welcome to this week's edition of the Good for Business podcast. I'm Colin Krieger, and one of the legends of Columbus and West Alabama, Dustin "Worm" Nichols. I'm going to try not to call you Worm every single time that I talk, but Dustin's a famed boxer and trainer and car salesman and all kind of other stuff, and we're here to talk about his life and business journey. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you for having me, Colin. I appreciate what you're doing around the community.
Well, thank you for that. So let's start as we always do with the pedigree information. Give us your name, where you were born, and where you live now, and any family, anything like that.
Dustin Nichols. Everybody calls me Worm. I've had that nickname since 6th grade. I grew up in Kennedy, Alabama. I lived in Columbus from about 09 till 23, and we bought a house in West Point, so we're living in West Point, but I'm still working here in Columbus.
Good deal. So let's start with the origin story. I want to know what little 8 to 12-year-old Worm Nichols was doing when he got his first job ever.
Man, 8 to 12. I ain't gonna lie, I didn't do much working back at that age.
I'm giving you credit for starting earlier than most.
I appreciate it. No, my dad always, man, I didn't want for much coming up. My dad worked 2 or 3 jobs. We didn't have the most money in the world, but he worked 2 or 3 jobs. As long as I was playing sports and doing halfway decent in school, he said, "You don't have to worry about nothing. I'm gonna take care of you. You just do that part, and I'll take care of my part."
There you go. What was your first job ever? Even if it was cutting grass or washing windows, what was it?
I worked at a little sawmill with a guy named Mr. Amos Thornton over in Belk, Alabama. We cleaned up. It was on Saturday mornings, and it was after football games. I tell you, man, it was miserable. It made me want to get a job like I got today and not be out in that dirt and sawdust. And
is that what you were doing, was sweeping up sawdust and
yes,
stuff?
sir. We were sweeping up sawdust. I'd be covered from head to toe, man. It was pretty miserable. It make you respect that dollar you earned. That's for sure.
Yeah. So more than 100 degrees is what I would say.
Oh yeah.
What was your first grown-up job? And did you work at McDonald's or anything like that? Or?
No, sir. Actually worked at Sonic for a little while. It wasn't my first job, but I was doing hotel and restaurant management in college out at EMCC, and I got a manager and training program I was doing at Sonic for a little while. But I guess one of my first jobs was in that industry would be at Reuben's at Reuben's Fish House for the loft. It was back then. It had a assistant manager job and just bartending, and just that was living a little different now, but that was a great part of my life. You know, a lot of my testimony today comes from that.
Yeah, and a big part of your life is your faith journey. We're going to get to that. I want to start with the boxing part, because that's the first time I became aware of you. I got to town here after Katrina, and probably around 2009 or 10, people were starting to talk about this legendary young troublemaker / boxer coming. So how'd you get into that?
Man, I was just coming up young. I was pretty tough. A lot of times I would take up for kids that couldn't necessarily take up for themselves. And a lot of time I got in a lot of fights over the years, from trying to break fights up, trying to get them stopped, and you end up in the middle of it, you know. But boxing, I had some people reach out to me about getting in the tough man, just I guess from the streets. And they had a little tough man contest here in town. And I took off work that Friday. I was working in Tuscaloosa at a Spandex plant, and got in it. That was before I started at Reuben's bartending, and got in the contest and won it. And there was a lot of trash talk after it from the guy that I beat in the championship. And I come back, you know. It was a couple months later and won another one, and then I got to winning a few of them here and there, and I built up a little name, man. It was a great experience. Columbus really backed me well in West Alabama. There would be a whole lot of people come out to watch me, man, and I miss those days. It was the 1 minute rounds, and then eventually I turned pro. And man, when you start fighting people doing it for a living, and not just like I was doing, having fun, hoping to win a little money. You know, I never took it serious back then how I should. I wish I would have trained and prepared well for some of the famed fighters I fought over time.
Yeah, and I'm going to get to that, but you glossed over, and maybe purposely. Do you say you worked at a spandex factory?
Yes, sir. Made Spandex.
Really?
Radici Spandex is actually closed down. Is at the industrial park over in Northport, by Tuscaloosa.
Yeah. And so, what was that? Where were you just moving forklifts, or
I
what were
was
you doing?
I actually drove a forklift some. I was in packing, so it was a factory job. It was 12 hours a day, so it was really like 14 because I lived in Kennedy. So you
Yeah.
had an hour drive there and an hour drive back, but then you had to get up and be ready, time to get there. So man, it was terrible too, but made me respect what I'm doing now a whole lot more.
Yeah, well, we get into conversations with entrepreneurs or just people in sales, and there's always there's some almost, I hate to use the word slave, but there's some hard working 100-degree stuff when you're younger. There's usually
Yes,
some
sir.
stop where you're doing some sales, and there's always the thing in common with almost everyone is they did some time in the restaurant business,
Yes, sir.
because you learn the challenges of customer service and meeting customers and all that.
I tell you, everyone in America should have to work in a restaurant and wait on people for just a little while.
Yeah.
And they would have a whole different respect for waiters and waitresses and just in the food industry in general. People come down on them so hard, things is expensive these days, but they come down on them a lot harder than they should. Everybody makes mistakes. We make mistakes in life, and people need to realize that, and it is what it is.
So here's the biggest question of the day.
Yes, sir.
Who hits harder? Legendary heavyweight Deontay Wilder, who I believe you're the first and for a while only person to ever knock down, or the little blue-haired Karen at the steakhouse saying that the steak wasn't cooked correctly?
Man, I'm gonna be honest. Probably Karen. It's bad. They sometimes, man, and it could be some of the worst chewings I've took. I had a little steakhouse over in it was called Down Yonder in Pickinsville, Alabama, and the church crowd on Sunday sometimes. Karen come out of the front row. Oh, couldn't get it
No.
out. The front row of the pew, man, and you know what I mean. She'd hit you with the uppercut if that chicken wasn't right, or you let her tea glass get under halfway full. Sometimes, man, we got to have grace for people the way the good Lord's had grace for us.
Yeah. So tell me about the restaurant. When was that restaurant? Was that before or after you were at Reuben's?
It was a little after. This was I had the restaurant down there. It was called Down Yonder in, I think, 2014. Actually had a lot going at that point in my life. I had the loft. I had it leased out. I had a license through my dad's name or whatever. I had it leased out, and I had there was a bar called Tandoori. I was in with a guy named Richie Rav. It was an Indian guy where the Blue Room used to be, the old Holiday Inn years ago. I had that going. I had Down Yonder. I had all that going at one time, and then we had a bar out on 45 called Worm Saloon.
Yeah.
So I had 4 things going at once, man. I was running myself ragged.
Was that too much? A little too much?
It was. I had a little too much going, but man, it was a fun experience. I got to meet a lot of people, help a lot of people out over the years through that. Met some friends I think I have for life. Made connections in a lot of different industries.
Yeah, that's a lot of food service at the same time.
Yes, sir.
I reference, when people say, they want to get in the restaurant business, I'm like, you probably should start with cooking for people, then maybe catering, then maybe a truck, then maybe a small location,
Amen.
then a big one, because a lot of people go into it and get the whole operation first, and they think they're going to get away from it. And I told them, if you go to the end of COVID, the Huck boys were at Huck's, Doug was still at Zachary's, Mr. John's at United Deli, and even the Beans, dad and son, are cooking at Harvey's at the end of COVID because nobody was left to work. And they have a multi-store franchise empire, and they're just, you don't get away from it. People think it's easy.
Man, I was actually out of the business during COVID or whatever. I know it was a hard time for a lot of people. The food prices skyrocketed. You couldn't have people in your establishment. You was having to do all to goes. Hard to get people to work because people couldn't. They could draw that check at home and make more than they could. At work. It was just a hard time for everybody. I'm glad we got through that. Was able to withstand everything. Or a lot of businesses withstood it, and still here with a firm foundation today.
Yeah, and Ray Boltwood took over Reuben's and
Ray Boltwood and Edward Bishop.
Yeah, took over that after you. So.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and it's a fight, man, all the time to hang out and stay. I talk to them and talk to other people. There's places like that and like Profit Sports that top of mind is sometimes a problem.
Yes, sir.
Like they remember good experiences there, but it's not on the main strip and it's just right off the edge of what they think about and they don't go to see it all the time.
Yes, sir.
That's
one thing going around we travel a lot, man, and everywhere I go, I try to find those mom and pop places, Zachary's, Huck's, just your everyday people from back home trying to make it. I love to find those places anywhere I am.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to keep a restaurant going. You see a lot of them shut down after a year, 2 years, usually in December, and it just gets hard when you don't have the traffic. It's super competitive, and again, a lot of people go into it thinking don't have to be there.
Yes, sir.
Which is just a fatal mistake.
Man, you're married to it. When you're in the business, you got to be there. If not, things is gonna walk out the door. Your quality is gonna go down. You're married to it.
Speaking of the fight, so tell me, I want the long version of how you end up in the ring. And I know he wasn't the Deontay Wilder everybody knows now, but tell me how you end up in the ring with Deontay Wilder.
I think I was 4-2 at the time. Hadn't fought in 6 months. I probably weighed about 430 during that time. But I got a call. I actually wasn't working at the time. I was just chilling, I had went through a bad breakup. Had some depression built up. To be honest with you, I needed to check. Got a check for Golden Boy from Golden Boy Promotions, which Oscar De La Hoya owns. On that fight, I think I made $3,800 that fight. $3,800 for somebody that's dog broke. I took the fight on, I think, 3 or 4 day notice. Okay. I just got a call. A guy that was supposed to fight him backed out, and they was like, "You want him?" And I was like, "Lord, yes." I would get in there with him again today if I could. It was just it was amazing. He was coming off of he won the bronze medal in the Olympics. I think 2 years prior to that, and then he turned pro, and I think I was his 11th win. We fought down in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. It was a little spot in the middle of nowhere, kind of in Hattiesburg, but it was just it was an old club venue that they had a boxing event at. Roy Jones Jr. was actually there. It was cool getting to fight in front of some people like that.
That's incredible. So you did knock him down, right? That's the legend. There's a lot of legends about you.
You can go to Dustin Nichols versus Deontay Wilder on YouTube, and you can judge for yourself. You can see if it's a knockdown. I landed a clean shot and he fell. The referee actually counted it as a slip, but if you go back and you watch the fight, I made solid contact. His butt hits the ground. He falls.
Yeah, I mean, it's been referenced. I've seen other YouTube videos where people in his camp say, it was the only other time he got knocked down until, what's it, the big guy he fought this last year?
Tyson Fury.
Yeah, Tyson Fury.
And then he ended up losing to a Chinese guy recently, too.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you weren't fighting him when he was a scrub either. He was 15 years old. He's a medalist.
No, so. He was coming off winning the bronze medal. Yeah. It was amazing to share the ring with somebody of that stature, though.
That's amazing. So from that to, I mentioned this before we talked, tell me the story about Butterbean and your a little bit of relationship with him in time.
My dad actually fought Butterbean when I was a kid. It was neat. In a tough man competition at the fairgrounds, that's where I ended up getting started at. Well, a couple years later, me and one of my friends go to Jasper, Alabama. We get in a little trouble up there. I ride with him, and we get arrested, and we're on Butterbean, the Big Lawman. It was a TV show. You might go back and look. Look it up. It was on A&E, I think, and we ended up, didn't get no charges or nothing, but I ended up walking 20-something miles that night. I could call, my phone went dead, and I knew my girlfriend's number, and I knew my daddy's number, and I wasn't calling neither one of them. If any of you know, Walker County in Alabama was one of the top spots in the United States to get a hitman at one time in the late 90s. It's a real rough spot, rough area up there. But I walked from downtown Jasper to like Fowler's Crossroad, which is in Fayette County. It's like 20-something miles. I walked 20-something miles that night.
What year was this around?
I'd say 2011, 2012.
I know I was here because I remember. I don't know if we covered it in the packet, but I remember hearing the story.
I was miserable, but I wasn't fixing to call either one of them. I ended up I changed my life around a little bit during that time. Stopped doing some things I was doing, but ended up a couple years went by. Things got back to going good for me, and I fell short again.
So yeah, I was going to bring it up. So you've had some brushes with the law. And
Yes,
like
sir.
I've said to some people, some brushes with redemption in Christ also. Do
Yes,
you
sir.
want to talk about both? Because a lot of people have that. They have a time in their life early in their life and they get around church and get around good people and then they slip and then they come back to it and it's even stronger the second time.
I,
So
I actually had a point in my life where I really didn't care if I woke up tomorrow or not. I got in a fight with my girlfriend one time, argument on the phone with her, and I had some pistols. I shouldn't have had pistols because at the time I was a felon. I was playing football in Tuscaloosa at a place called Stillman College. I caught a little assault charge. That was one of my first. I had come home for the weekend and caught a charge over here, so I ended up quitting ball or whatever and got a job. But man, just it's been a couple times over time with the Lord, but I ended up shooting myself one day. Me and her got in an argument, and I was hard headed. I said, "If you say another word, I'm shooting myself," because I thought she wasn't gonna say another word. Well, she said another word, shot myself. Well, that happened at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was at work by 6. The Lord was with me, and I didn't even I wasn't even living for Him then. I didn't acknowledge Him. I just being an old unfaithful sinner at the time, which we all sin. Everybody sins daily, I believe. But I was living in sin. I'm no longer living in sin. I'm not trapped in sin. Do I sin? Yes, but I'm not trapped by it. I'm not living in it daily. I don't go out and do things repeatedly. I get conviction on doing things now, so I don't do it. Back then I had no conviction. But that was
yeah.
one of my first encounters. It shoot yourself and you at work within 3 hours.
Where'd
I
you
was
shoot yourself in your body?
in my chest.
Oh my goodness gracious.
In my chest. I went in that day. Had my hand on my chest. The lady said, "You haven't been shot. You wouldn't be walking in here like this." I squirted blood out on the table and put my hand back over it. And they ended up getting me in the back. They was panicking, but everything they left the bullets actually still in the soft tissue of my right lung. They said it caused more damage to take it out than to leave it in.
Now, were you still pretty big then?
Oh
Did that
yeah,
help?
yeah,
Did
I
that
was
help, I
big.
guess?
They said my chest cavity was so thick. If it wouldn't have been, it was with a 22 little Derringer pocket pistol. 22 gets in there and bounces around. That's actually one of the most deadly guns out there because of that. But the Lord was blessing me.
Well, that's why I'm going to mention that to my wife when I eat another pack of Rocky Road tonight and I say, God has a plan. You don't know when something's going to happen to me. So yeah, I've heard that phrase before too, where they say, I was convicted, but I didn't have conviction.
Yes, sir.
So you're running through tests. Where were you working that you showed up after?
I was working at Forget About It downtown. I managed a bar for Mr. Freddie Fields.
Yeah, Freddie.
Man, I miss old Freddie. He was a good dude. A lot of people.
Ooh, the stories with him, I could do a 4-hour podcast.
A lot of the stories though was people put Freddie down, but man, he was genuinely a good guy. A lot of people thought that he did a lot of things that he wasn't doing.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. People's gonna say what they say and think what they think. But somebody that knows and was there and was around. I have nothing but respect for him.
Well, I knew him for a little while, and I'd become good friends with John, his son. And I tell people all the time, even if you only had your kids for a little while or you didn't get to spend your whole life, I can usually tell what I need to know about you from the way your kids act.
Right.
And, all kids get into trouble when they're teenagers or something. But I'm saying,
Yes,
John Fields and Freddie are giving to a fault. Right. And I have seen John and Freddie give away things that are worth thousands of dollars because they belong to that person's family, or they belong to. John has done stuff where I had a house, and he's like, "Oh, those people own the horse track, and this sign belongs to them, and it'll be like this priceless." I'm like, "You can." He's like, "As long as you keep it in the house." And again, loyal to a fault. And
yes, sir.
Mr. Freddie, I thought it was a great bar when it was here. I thought it was needed. It didn't really have that much trouble when it was there, and so.
Yes, sir.
It was neat to see. And, of course, the steakhouse and everything else.
Yes, sir. I love that old Golden Horn. I actually cooked out there for a little while. Yeah. That restaurant industry is tough, but, man, it can make a man out of you.
Well, I did 20 years in food service, and people asked me, like, will you ever go back? And I said, I would have something akin to Old Hickory with even shorter hours. Like, here's what I have.
Yes, sir.
Here's the same metal bowl of ranch dressing from 1987 on the table. This is all we have.
Yes, sir.
We can't, no, we can't. If you don't want it, take it off.
Right.
Here's your potatoes, scrape what you don't want. I like that, and I respect it. And sure enough, I mean, you go there any day of the week at Old Hickory, and they're just rocking and rolling.
Yes, sir.
So, and it's hard to build something up to that.
That's
a lot
right.
again, I'm going to restaurant things. You may try to start something that's too small.
Yes, sir.
I see that in Caledonia where people try to open up these little shops, and I'm like, It'd be
Yes,
better
sir.
for you to double your rent and be somewhere where there's more
Right.
traffic.
Yes, sir.
It's a hard part of it. So all right. So let's go all the way to Rubens. What's the next job?
Next job. Let's see. What I do after Rubens? I tried to. That was a long time. I tried to open my own little spot. Went a couple different ways. I used to like to get things started, and I would sell them or end up closing, find something else. I would go so deep into things I would burn out on it, if that makes any sense. I wish a lot of them I would have stuck it on out and lasted a little longer instead of selling or getting rid of it. But a lot of times I stay looking for other things to do too, and you
Yeah.
find something that you make a little more money and a little less work, and you think it's all about that life, about the money and the easiness of it. But anything that comes easy goes easy, and might not necessarily be in your calling either.
Oh,
I'm a
absolutely.
firm believer of if you ain't in your calling, that's gonna last. Everything's temporary.
Yeah, and sometimes it's hard to have a grown-up job. You probably have that same problem. I had an exceptional job at Papa John's. I would literally was run one of the busiest stores in the country in Oxford, and then I would just go around doing marketing stuff all day, and it was phenomenal. But I still had that thing at 9 o'clock at night when I couldn't leave because it was too busy,
Yes,
and
sir.
a little bit of wearing the apron sort of thing. And I was like, there's got to be a better thing. And I mean, I'm still there where I'm still learning to like dress up and think that that's some make believe sense of pride. It really is getting to a place where you find some sort of business where you can engage with people and
Yes, sir.
make them happy and do something meaningful.
That's one thing I love about sales. You've been in sales, you can build camaraderie with people. You build relationships with them. I don't look at it just like they're my customers. I like to make friends. I like to make lifetime friends. I should be a little more pushy than I am. I don't think I'm pushy at all. Uh, I would rather somebody buy from me on down the road, me tell them, you might not want to buy this right now. There's a better deal out there. It suits you better than what I can do. And them shot with me remember that and shot with me for life instead of me trying to tear their head off, sell them this one vehicle that they're not gonna
They're
be
gonna
happy
regret.
with, and
Yeah,
then they're gonna go talk about you behind your back, on Facebook, social media, different things, and that tears you down. I would rather do somebody right and them be able to brag on what I did for them, and somebody see that or word of mouth. In a town this small, word of mouth
yeah.
travels so
I
fast.
have that all the time where I tell people I can't go back and grow up here. So I understand you. Maybe you can't use me, but you can recommend me. And as
That's
far
right.
as selling stuff to people that don't need you're not going to win. And
No, sir.
the best example I have in your business is I watch a lot of car shows like on YouTube and stuff. And Rabbit, the guy that just passed away earlier this year, all his car sales stories and the real good car salesman stories are when somebody came back and brought two of their daughters, or when somebody got a job at another
Yes,
place
sir.
and ordered a fleet from me, or the dude who walked in with his new wife and bought 3 cars in one day,
Yes,
is
sir.
because they know you, like you, and trust you. That's a big sales training thing for Brian Buffini. Is a real estate and life coach guy, and he's like, when you talk about sales, can I trust you? Are you good at what you do, and do you care about me?
Yes, sir.
And people can see through that. Like, I just absolutely despise going to big car dealerships,
Yes,
and I
sir.
have lots of friends here who are exceptional
Right.
car guys, and I'm like, it's still just tough. Like, we've had to look when we looked for a car for my wife during COVID, like going out of town dealerships just to look at car, just.
Right.
And I'm like, and the conversations I've had with friends here before, I'm like, and Jacob Elsmore, who's working at your
Yes,
power
sir.
place, is like, if you can get me out of here in 30 minutes. I was like, I know I'm paying cash. It's not the best situation for y'all, but like, people think that paying cash
Yes,
is, but
sir.
it's not as much anymore for the big dealerships. I'm like, as long as you can get me out of here, I just don't want to spend an hour here talking to y'all about everything that, the big dealerships, especially, like, have to video stuff. So we'll get to that. So, all right, what's next from Rubens, I guess?
Got into that. I was still fighting just a little bit, not doing too much, but I kind of got away from the bar business for a little while, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur myself, and kind of got into doing some things I shouldn't have been doing. Got to moving a good bit of marijuana. I was driving out to California and driving back, and Denver here and there, and I ended up getting caught with something in the mail, or they said I did anyway. It didn't have my name on it. but they charged me with it anyway. I pled guilty to conspiracy to traffic marijuana in 2019. I went to jail in October 2019. I think I stayed in there 2 days. Yeah, ended up bonding out and everything. But ended up pleading guilty. I think it was. I've been on probation now 2 or 3 years. It ended up taking like 4 years to go to court. I think it was 2019. I pled guilty in 2023. It took 4 years ago. Rod Ray was my lawyer. Man, he's the man. He's the GOAT.
He is. Well, that's what I say. When the bad guys and the good guys use him, whenever cops get in
Yes, sir.
trouble, I spent some time at the packet chasing guys. You were one of the few I can say in the course of time that when they would mention you, like they were
Yes,
like,
sir.
they're like, man, we like Worm.
Man,
Like,
I always have been one. I respect cops. I respect what they do. A lot of people down them and bash them. You think about it. I hope this never happens to no one, but you go home and your daughter's been raped, or your mother's been raped, or you've been raped. Who you gonna call? You gonna call the cops, ain't you?
Yeah.
You go home, your house has been broke into. You gonna call the cops. But then you want to bash them or down them because they give Mr. John, not Mr. John, old Jimmy down the road a ticket.
Yeah,
He pulled over, he had meth in his pocket, and then got old Chris over there with a pocket full of dope.
Yep.
But then people want to bash them and down them. But then something happens to your family, and you call them and want help from them. Then man, I look, them guys they out trying to make an everyday living like we are. I seen a local officer, I won't say his name, the other day. He's doing a lot out in the community, doing some different things, and I seen him say, people won't change. The police department's hiring right now. The Army's the same way. Everybody says what they can do, this and that. Politicians, this and that. Run for politics. Sign up and be a cop. There's a lot of people out there don't have jobs, need jobs right now. They're hiring. Hiring down here at Columbus right now. Sign up and be a cop. Make a change. You want to see these changes. You want different. Do different. Be different.
I saw, and especially for like the last 2 years I was at the packet, I was 24/7 with the cops. I mean, more respect and fear of ever doing that again, of just seeing on a daily basis, what they got going on. And that became a big problem. I wasn't still doing that, but during COVID, when they were talking about Ferguson and all these riots and stuff, where it reached a point where anybody who was doing anything kind of bad was worried the cop was going to shoot him, and every cop that pulled everybody over thought they might get shot. Right. It's calmed down a little. Part of it helps with, like, in our market, we got relatively new police chief here is doing a real good job with community policing. They know. I used to say, like, all the chiefs that came after, since like Donnie Elkin left, like when Donnie Elkin would pull somebody over for a ticket, he could work it into a search of the car because he would know the name of the kid. Right. And he would also know when he pulled over the car and he heard the name, that like, well, he's a bad guy, a bad kid, but he's not going to shoot me. Right. And then we had a point of 3 or 4 years where the cops didn't know that group of kids coming through, and it, didn't help them whatsoever.
Don't get me wrong. Sometimes you get bad out there, but I feel like, man, if you got your hands up or out the window, you show respect. Don't be getting snappy with them from the jump. You show respect. More than likely, they're going to give you respect. Yeah. At the end of the day, if somebody tells you to pull over, pull over. If they're trying to pat you down, let them pat you down. If you ain't doing nothing wrong, what's that matter? It's because most people that get mad is doing something wrong. People just can't accept it,
One of the funny part here that's happened since marijuana's become legal is and I've heard this from people at the police force, is that they'll have the license to have marijuana or whatever, and then they just get just crazy high and go drive around. Right. They're like, they get arrested. They're like, I have this. He's like, you can't be drunk. Beer's legal.
Well, that's like you go down here and you get prescribed the Lortabs or cough syrup. I mean, whatever it may be, anxiety medicine. If it'll say on the prescription, you're not supposed to drive on it. I don't think you ain't supposed to drive on it. I mean, it is what it is.
So you're gotten that last bit of trouble in 19. Yes, where were you working around then?
I was actually working at Bill Russell Ford. I lost my job because of that. Mr. Mike McGill in West Point. Mike and Michelle, man, they took a chance on me. He gave me a job over there. But the big thing that happened for me then was they invited me to church, man. Mike was preaching one Wednesday night. Well, I didn't get to make it, but I was and not trying to brag, I was the #1 streamed person or case, I guess you could say, on Mississippi News for like 2 days after we caught that charge. They blew it way up. It got caught in FedEx.
Yeah.
But they reached out to me and invited me to church, man. Instead of that old dope seller down the road, we're going to kick him while he's down. You know how a lot of people did kick me while I was down. But, that's some of what gives me motivation today to push forward and do the things as I'm doing to try to be a good Christian. Mike and Michelle reached out to me at my most broken time, and they invited me to church. Mike was supposed to be preaching on Wednesday. Well, I didn't get to make it. I went out and went anyway. Following, I think it was the next Wednesday night, I was going to surprise them. Well, I go in a little late. I don't know where to get through the doors, man, and I start crying. Just conviction, just all that I was going through, man. And I sat down on the back row, just cried and cried and cried. I did that for 2 or 3 weeks. Was going to church every time the doors open. I felt like the preacher was preaching directly to me. And finally, I was at Bodybuilders with Dusty Snyder and them. I had a buddy named James Hughes was giving his testimony. And I finally surrendered my life to the Lord that night, man. It was amazing. And I haven't looked back since. That was in probably November of 19. I got the charge in October, November of 19. And I got ordained in 22. I started giving my testimony in 20 here and there. And, man, things has just changed. I said I wouldn't never get married. I'm married now. We got married in October of 22. Actually, October 28th to 22. My wife, Whitney Ford, she graduated from Heritage, had a dad here, Ed Ford, Biddy Ford, as her parents. She has a good, her mom's boyfriend now, Bobby, he's there for him a lot, Bobby Manning. It's just amazing, man, having a wife now and somebody I can lean on. She was on probation during that time, and she took a little vacation because of that. All she had to do is say my name, and she would have been free, but she did 18 months in Flowood for failing a drug test for weed. They charged her with it, and she didn't get indicted on the charge, which is a blessing that she didn't. But she did 18 months, and all she had to do is say my name, and she didn't. That spoke tons to me, man. The loyalty right there when she could have just said my name and said any little thing about me, and I'd have went away. And that earned so much of my respect right there. And when she was down there, I've never been able to read good. I would, if I had to read in class, I would go get a paddling, man.
Yeah.
But I would read the Bible to her every night, and things got to, just getting better. I was reading to her, and she'd want me to read to her. And while she was down there on her time at night, I'd read the Bible to her, and we'd pray. And things is just going smooth now. Man, it's amazing what you can do in life when you surrender and turn your life over to Christ.
Well, I'm going to give an absolute plug for Dusty and Dustin and all the guys
Yes,
at Bodybuilders, and then D&D Construction does
sir.
all my little flip house and rental stuff. And hey, John Boy's my favorite guy over there. Like, he's only been in it 2 years, but the fact that like these guys are meeting every day, praying and talking. They've had guys leave, start their own businesses, which goes for entrepreneurship. They do side work, but the community is what they need. Much like running a restaurant or a car dealership or anything, you need some support. You need somebody there when you get home from a 20-mile walk, and now you have an amazing spouse. That's incredible.
Yes, sir.
So how do you go from you're selling cars over with Miguel, and then now you got your own spot, right?
Yes, sir. Working now. Well, Jake's the actual owner. I've got a little. He pays me like I'm an owner or whatever. Jake McGill is Mike's son. Okay. We're down at North Mississippi Auto now, just right down the road, the old Fitchner building across from the MAG.
Across from the MAG.
How
ironic is that? You got to sit there and smell it all day.
Yes, sir. It is what it is.
Well, it's fine now. And I said, look, the majority of the people, that's where my wife had chemotherapies, had 20-something back surgeries.
Yes,
until she got off the other stuff and got on marijuana. Like, the little she does helps her pain so much. So
yes, sir.
There's a place for it, and it's better to be regulated than it is to just be out wild on the street. So,
Amen.
And they're at least there. I know they're doing a good job. They got
that's right
cameras on, and they're paying attention to stuff. So
yes, sir. But it's been amazing. They're working with Jake. Jake yesterday actually. It was a lady. She's in recovery. Works at the grill. He had helped her get her car was broken down. He helped her get it fixed a little bit. We did, and She was actually in yesterday to buy a vehicle, and Jake told her she might be better off to buy a new vehicle, a brand new one, in her situation, just so she'll have the warranty and everything that
Yeah.
stretches out. You don't see a business owner
Yeah, turn it down.
turning that. Not he didn't really, he told her if we got the right situation there, we can make something happen. But tell someone, you would be better off to go get this new vehicle. You don't see a lot of owners like that, man. That's people that's one thing about Jake, man. He cares about people. I love seeing that. They ain't too many owners that would do that. And I love seeing it, man. That makes me strive to do better. Just each and every day, I try to be better than I was yesterday, and that's what I've been talking a lot on Facebook about it. I think everybody, man, needs to. If you could do three things in life, you could grow spiritually, mentally, and physically every day. Be better than you was yesterday. You get the spiritual part right, the mental part's gonna come somewhat. Don't get me wrong; these people still need medicine here and there, but if you really truly get your spiritual side all the way right, you're gonna grow. You can grow mentally, and then the physical part's gonna come along with it. It's the Lord's temple. You're gonna want to do better, be better.
Well, you've been shrinking physically. Tell me how that
Yes,
journey's
sir.
been. So.
Man, it was great. I actually had weight loss surgery, May 21st to 24.
Did you have it here, or did you have
We had it in Tupelo. Dr.
Tupelo.
Pinson. He was amazing, man. Had that, and then in Dr. Gauger here, I had shoulder surgery. So I've really just been back working out. About 2 months now. I've got a great trainer working out down at Core.
Yeah, I saw you
working out down at Core and weight room. Yeah, it's an amazing place, man. I tell you, my life's being changed in there. It's already been changed spiritually, but I'm getting that physical side of it now. I'm getting in there, working out hard. They got a ton of stuff you can do in there. Some great trainers there. You can get massages, a lot of things you can do. They got massage chairs, but they got the cold plunge for
I got a cold plunge at my house, and I love it. It's a freezer that we call Lee Hopper from help me caulk it up,
sir.
And do it. I do that every morning. Wakes you up. It's helped me with my health the last 6 months, and
it helps you with your recovery so much.
And it helps you wake up if you can get there in the morning. I like having it in my backyard, so I just jump in. Man, because I remember Chris Packus' house. He's tough guy stuff.
Yes, sir.
That's 2 podcasts in a row. I mentioned CPAC. He's doing pretty good. The tough guy. The last time you fought, I was there, and I think if you fell down, you were breathing heavy. And
yes, sir.
You told me like, "This is it."
Couldn't breathe.
This is it.
I've actually, man, I'm refereeing some now for the boxing commission, but it's crossed my mind, man, to maybe have me another one or two. I'm getting back. Physically hitting the bag a little bit this morning. I love coaching people though. That's a goal of mine. If I do have another fight, it is what it is. But a goal of mine is I want to open a little gym here in town, a little something downtown. People could get in and get physically fit. They could learn some self defense.
Yeah.
But boxing is a great workout. You work the full body out, and I'd love to do that.
How much weight have you lost?
I'm down to 257, and I was at 430 plus at my biggest. I don't really know because half the time the scale wouldn't weigh me, so I don't really know.
Well, that's the difference between the weight loss surgery and doing the shot, which the shot has helped my brother a lot. He was a big dude. He's shrinking every day. And what you did, there's quite a few more challenges doing what you did.
Yes, sir.
The recovery from after the surgery. I think our friend Tony Hanna publicly said he did the surgery, in learning how to eat correctly and eating enough. Because I know a lot of times that you get so sick you don't want to eat.
Yes, sir. I know a lot of people has had the surgery when I had the surgery, but hadn't really lost nothing. They don't change. You have to change your whole lifestyle. It is a lifestyle change. What you eat, what you put in your body. But I look at it now like, it's the Lord's temple. Like I got to provide. I got to put in it what's good. That goes all the way down to what you see, what you listen to. As far as music, drinking, just whatever you have to watch what you put in your body. It's the Lord's temple. It can take you some bad places when you start to let your mind wander. It's a devil's playground when you a wandering mind.
Well, getting to near the end, this is the point where we get to plug away. How do we help you? How do they reach you? you help me sell a car very quickly, a
Yes, sir.
little bit of used car I had, and if I'm about to buy one with y'all.
We actually do consignment. We charge 10% up to $1,000 max. We're trying to sell a big RV for Mr. Kenneth Montgomery right now. We have a couple other things down we're selling for people. We charge 10% up to $1,000. It's capped at $1,000, but we'll sell anything for you. Golf cart. We got motorcycle up there right now. We got a Harley Davidson up there right now. We're selling for somebody, local business owner here in town. Um, we going to the auction, getting cars. We're taking trades. We're buying people's cars. Got $200 referral fees. Send me a $200 buyer, or send me somebody that buys a car that says your name up front. I'll get you $200.
There you go.
That's
easy. Colin with one L, ladies and gentlemen.
But just you can look me up on Facebook. Worm Nichols on Facebook. It's Pastor Worm, I think, on TikTok.
All the kids with the TikTok. Now, is Kenneth Montgomery, thanks, sir. That's what Kenneth Montgomery says. Yes. Has he autographed the RV like on the dashboard the way a NASCAR driver would? That might help itself.
He should, as long as he's been doing what he does, man. He's helped a lot of people over the years.
I'm going to need to add him to my list for the podcast.
I used to, for a while there, I had Mr. Kenneth on speed dial. He helped me out a ton, man, over the years. Sometimes I wouldn't. When I wasn't living right, the situation pop up, man, he'd help me out a lot, and I really appreciate that.
No, he's one of the quiet giants in our town,
yes, sir.
New Hope and Columbus and all. Just always, always showing up, and that's part of his job. But like, man, he's helped a lot of people out. Now I know I'm gonna have to put Kenneth on I'm gonna have to go over see Dodie and Kenny, drag him over here.
So. One other thing I would like to touch on. I mentioned I'd like to get me a little boxing gym going on downtown somewhere or around downtown. But eventually, man, I would like to. I don't have the funds for it right yet, but I would like to do something with a homeless shelter. Dusty and them does that for the addicts. Different ones coming out of recovery. I would like to do one. Something similar to that, but just helping homeless people get off the street. Which there's a lot of them's got mental health problems, but. A lot of times too, though, somebody just needs a hand to get back on their feet, some help getting on their feet, and I would like to be able to do that, man, and provide for some people around. I love helping people. That's what makes me happy right there, is being the hands and feet of Jesus.
Well, the Golden Triangle Homeless Coalition does a good job. The hardest part is, like you said, a lot of it's mental health.
Yes, sir.
Less of it than people think is drugs. A lot of people who have mental health issues can't get the right drugs and use the wrong drugs.
Yes, sir.
And then some of it is, man, you can have a quick series of events and you're out of a job. I mean, there's some people at PACCAR who just got furloughed or lost their job who a year ago probably had a $25,000 a year job, then all of a sudden made $75,000, and then it gets cut out of nowhere. Now, PACCAR does a good job rehiring.
My wife actually, it was back in when they had the first layoff.
Yeah.
She took a $6 or $7 an hour pay cut because she had to go back to assembly, and then it was last week she lost her job, actually.
No, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
and they end up good. A lot of this is the third time they've done this. I think in 10 years they usually hire them back, and it's just and it's tough because, correct me if I'm wrong, you get furloughed or laid off, you kind of know sometime in the next 9 months they're probably coming to get you. I don't know, with the tariffs and stuff going on, but you don't want to get a worse job in the meantime. But how long do you wait?
Right.
And somebody could be in that situation without you at home to support them, there's difference there. Look, people have stress at every level. Bill Russell's got stress. I mean, you saw his inventory.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I had like a commercial on WCBI that started for COVID for me winning the Realtor Award, rah, rah, rah.
Yes,
and it was supposed to run like 20 times. Well, it ran like 1,800 times because at the beginning of COVID, all the car dealers canceled their commercials. And then, he had to lose $1 million easy. Carl Hogan had, because there were no cars. There's still problems with cars, and it's even harder to imagine thinking if you're young and you lose that job, what if she's single and alone, and then all of a sudden you get behind in rent, and then you've had a life like you've had where maybe your family doesn't want to help you, and nobody wants to, you're not as popular and nice as you are. You can't get into another apartment if you didn't pay your last rent, and you can't. How are you going to get?
I know, credit's everything,
and then you need $1,500 to get into the worst apartment in town here.
Yes, sir.
And there's no public transport, so it's a challenge. The Homeless Coalition does a good job here, but the hardest part, again, I say this with marketing a lot. In 2020, peak of COVID, everybody was still on Facebook. You could put an event on there, and if I needed help or if I needed, we're back to where we were 20 years ago, where magazine, radio. You got to put stuff in so many little places to catch somebody's attention. And when you need help, not everybody sees it. I have people that mention stuff and they're like, how do you not go? And I'm like, is it on TikTok? And they're like, yeah.
Right.
I'm like, well, I have it, but look, I'm a fairly productive individual. I can't sit watching TikTok all day.
Yes, sir.
I can watch marketing videos
Right.
and learning videos and that sort of stuff. Well, I'm glad you got that out there, and I'll be praying for her and looking for her for a job.
Yes,
and
sir.
I want to, even though some people are going to be like, well, most of this wasn't about business, it was about
Yes,
life.
sir.
That's the makings of a man or a woman.
Yes,
Several careers of varying degrees of success, I've said before. And the journey that it takes somebody walking home from, going to work after shooting themselves or being on drugs and getting arrested and walking 20 miles to, like you say, being convicted and having conviction, to now running a car dealership next to a marijuana store, and just being just a light for the community.
Yes,
that's
sir.
shown through, even at your worst, you were more positive, happy, and loved than most. And that's why I think you're naturally drawn, as am I, to help out the underdog.
Yes, sir.
Because you've been there and you've been given quite a few chances,
That's one thing I love, to share my testimony, because if people know where I was and where I am now, you would know that anybody can do it. If Dustin Nichols can do it, if he can turn his life around, there's not one person out there that can't turn their life around. I promise you. If the Lord changed me, He can change you.
Well, there you go. Well, thanks for coming on this week, man. He sells cars and he's trying to save some souls, it sounds like, at the same time, right?
Amen. Amen. Just look to the Lord, whatever you do. And come see me at North Mississippi Auto.
All right, brother. Thank you, guys. Hey, guys. Thanks for listening to the podcast. My name is Colin Krieger, and my day job is real estate. If you're looking to buy or sell, I'd love to talk to you. Or if you just want to sit and talk real estate in a no-pressure situation, I'd love to help you. I work with RE/MAX Partners in Starkville, Columbus, and West Point, Mississippi. I can help you find an agent anywhere in Mississippi or anywhere in the country. Just reach out to our office at 662-327-7705 or find me anywhere when you type in 662-329-SOLD.